My family treated me like trash for 10 years to spoil my adopted brother. Now they're broke and came begging for money. But what I gave them destroyed them and sent my brother to prison. I'm 23 years old. I'm about to graduate at the top of my class in finance. And honestly, I never thought I'd make it this far after everything that happened with my family. The thing is, I need to tell this story because what I did a few months ago probably makes me a bad person, according to many. But after years of being treated like garbage in my own home, I don't regret it one bit. I guess I should start at the beginning. When I was 8 years old and my parents decided to adopt my brother Justin. I remember perfectly the day they sat us down in the living room. My mom and dad, with those huge smiles like, "We have the best news in the world." And they told us they were going to adopt a 7-year-old boy who needed a family. At that moment, I was excited. You know, the idea of having a younger brother sounded great, someone to play video games with and do brother stuff. Justin arrived like 2 weeks later with a small suitcase and a shy face, and my parents were acting like he had just descended from heaven or something. The first few months, everything seemed normal, or so I thought back then, but looking back, I should have noticed it from the beginning. The signs were all there. The first time I really realized something was wrong was on my 9th birthday. My parents bought me like 3 gifts. Normal stuff for a 9-year-old, nothing special, but I was happy. The problem was, they also bought gifts for Justin, like 4 or 5 things, and when I asked why Justin was getting gifts on my birthday, my mom told me in that super sweet voice, "It's just that we want Justin to feel included, honey. We don't want him to feel left out." I was 9, so I didn't really understand how weird that was. But I remember I felt bad, like my birthday wasn't really mine. And that's how it all started. Basically, every year that passed, it got worse. When I turned 10, Justin got more gifts than me again. When I turned 11, same thing. By the time I was 12, I wasn't even surprised anymore. It was like my birthday had become another excuse to buy things for Justin. And it wasn't just birthdays, it was everything. At Christmas, Justin literally received twice as many gifts as me, always the most expensive things, the newest consoles, games that had just come out. My parents took him everywhere, to the movies, to amusement parks, to expensive restaurants, and when I asked if I could go, there was always a different excuse. That Justin needs special time with us, that Justin has been through a lot and needs to feel loved, that I should be more understanding because I'm the older brother. The most ironic thing is, I was the older brother, technically only by a year, but I was older, and yet they treated me like I was the problem every time I pointed out how unfair everything was. My mom especially, she became like Justin's #1 defender. If Justin and I fought about something, it was always my fault, no matter what. If Justin broke something of mine, my parents would buy him new things like to console him, and they'd tell me that material things don't matter. It got to a point where I felt invisible in my own house, like I only existed to make Justin look better. When I got to middle school, things got even worse. My parents went to all of Justin's soccer games, to all his school presentations. They made photo albums of him, posted things about him on Facebook all the time, like, "Look how proud we are of our son, Justin." I was on the debate team. I won like 3 regional competitions, and my parents went to one, because Justin had a game on the same day as the others. They didn't take pictures of me, didn't brag about me, nothing. It was like I was a piece of furniture in the house. Something that's there but nobody really notices. My best friend Connor was the only one who really understood what was happening. He came to my house often and saw how my parents treated Justin versus how they treated me, and he always told me, "Dude, this isn't right. This isn't normal." But I was so used to it by then that I almost saw it as normal. You know what I mean? When you live in that every day, you start to think that maybe you are the problem, that maybe you are selfish for wanting even a little bit of attention from your own parents. The breaking point, the moment where everything exploded, was on my 16th birthday. 16 is important, you know. It's like a big birthday. And I had planned a small party with my friends, like 10 people. I told my mom weeks in advance that I wanted vanilla cake because it's been my favorite forever. She knows this perfectly well. On my birthday, my friends arrive, we're having a good time, and when my mom brings out the cake, it's chocolate. I asked her why, and she literally told me, It's just that Justin doesn't like vanilla honey, and I thought it would be easier this way. On my 16th birthday, the cake was the flavor my adopted brother liked. I stood there, staring at her like she'd grown another head. And I could feel all my friends going awkwardly silent. And Connor was looking at me like, "Do it. Say something." And I exploded. I told my mom that she'd been putting Justin first in everything for years, literally years. That I couldn't even have my own birthday without it being about him. That I was sick of being the invisible son. My dad obviously jumped in to defend my mom and Justin, told me I was being dramatic and ungrateful, that they did so much for me and I was a brat. Justin was sitting there with that little victim face he always put on, and I don't know, something broke inside me at that moment. I grabbed my jacket and left my own birthday party. Connor and 2 other friends followed me. We ended up at Connor's house eating pizza and playing video games, and while we were there, I made the decision. I was 16. I had 2 years until I turned 18, and as soon as I turned 18, I was going to get the hell out of that house and never look back. My friends tried to convince me that maybe things would get better, that maybe my parents would realize what they were doing, but I already knew that wasn't going to happen. I'd been watching this pattern for 8 years. It wasn't going to change. The next 2 years were basically me preparing to escape. I started working more hours at my part-time job at a coffee shop, saved every penny I could. I researched universities that had good financial aid programs, applied to every scholarship I found. I became a ghost in my own house, only left my room to eat and go to the bathroom, spent all my free time studying or working. My parents didn't even notice. They were so busy taking Justin to his 1,000 extracurricular activities that they probably didn't even realize their other son basically stopped existing. When I turned 18, I already had like $5,000 saved, and an acceptance letter from a decent public university about 2 hours away. Andrew, Connor's older brother, who was like 25 at that time, offered to help me move. The day I left was a Saturday morning. My parents had taken Justin to, I don't know what tournament, and Andrew showed up with his truck. I didn't have many things, really. My clothes, my laptop, some books, basic stuff. I left a note on the kitchen table that said, "I'm moving out. Don't look for me." And that was it. I found a super tiny but decent 1-bedroom apartment, worked full-time while going to college, and basically built my life from scratch. I blocked my parents from everything. Phone, social media, email, everything. The first few months they tried to contact me like crazy, left voicemails like, "Please, Lucas, we just want to talk. We don't understand why you did this." I never responded. Connor kept me updated from time to time about what was happening at my house. Apparently, my parents told everyone I had left because I was rebellious and ungrateful. Justin played the role of sad brother who misses his older brother. All very predictable. The next 5 years were, honestly, the best of my life. Without the constant toxicity of my family, I could finally focus on myself. My grades were excellent. I got good internships, made friends, who became like my chosen family. I met my girlfriend 2 years ago. She knows the whole story and has always supported me. By the time I was in my senior year of college, I was in the top 5 of my class. Had job offers waiting for me after graduation. Basically everything was going well. And then my mom found a way to contact me. It was like 6 months ago. I got a message from a number I didn't know. It was my mom, telling me they needed to talk urgently, that a lot of time had passed, that please give them a chance to explain. Something in me, I don't know if it was curiosity or what, made me respond. I agreed to see them in a public place, a pizza place downtown, and I made it clear that there was no guarantee I was going to forgive them or have contact again after that conversation. The day we met, my parents looked older. Obviously, 5 years had passed. My mom had more gray hair. My dad looked tired. We sat at a table in the back, and there were like 2 minutes of awkward silence before my mom started with the rehearsed speech about how they missed me and how they wanted to fix things. I just let them talk, waiting for the moment when they would admit what they had done wrong. The real apology. But it never came. Instead, after like 10 minutes of pure, empty words, my dad dropped the real reason they wanted to see me. Turns out they had spent an absurd amount of money on Justin the last few years, worse than what I had seen when I lived there. They bought him a new car when he turned 18, Not just any car, a BMW or something, and apparently they were also paying for his college completely plus an apartment. They had taken out loans, emptied their retirement savings, and now they were basically bankrupt. And guess what? They were asking me for money. My mom literally told me, "We know you're established now, Lucas, and we thought maybe you could help us out financially a little. That's what families do." I sat there processing what they had just said, and something inside me just went completely cold. After 5 years of no contact, after years of favoritism and emotional neglect, they had the nerve to ask me for money because they had ruined their finances, spoiling the favorite son. They weren't coming to apologize. They were coming to use me. Again, I asked my dad how much they needed. He said that with about $10,000 they could get out of the hole for a while. I just nodded, told them I'd think about it and would contact them. That night, I talked to my girlfriend about what had happened, and she was furious on my behalf. Like, how dare they after everything they did to you? And it was her who gave me the idea. Well, not directly, but we were watching a movie about scammers and something clicked in my head. I have a friend, I'm not going to give details about how I know him, who has access to counterfeit bills. Like really well made, almost impossible to distinguish unless you really know what to look for. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to give them their money. I sent my parents a message like a week later saying that yes, I was going to help them, that I could give them $12,000, but that I needed a little time to put it together. They were super grateful. My mom crying over text saying, "I always knew you had a good heart." It took me like 2 weeks to get the fake money. Perfectly made $100 bills. A total of like 120 bills. I put them in a large envelope, and we agreed to meet at a Starbucks. When I gave them the envelope, my dad opened it a little to confirm it was money, and closed it quickly. Gave me a hug that honestly disgusted me, and my mom was crying again, saying this meant so much to them. I told them I hoped it would help, and that we probably wouldn't see each other again because I needed to move on with my life. They said they understood, that they respected my decision, all very emotional and fake on their part. And they left with their 12,000 fake dollars. Here's where it gets good. Like 3 weeks passed and I got like 50 calls from my mom in one day, all of which I obviously ignored. Then, Connor sent me a message like, "Dewey, I need to tell you something," and called me all worked up. Turns out, Justin, the perfect son, the favorite son, had taken like 5,000 of those $12,000 without my parents knowing, and had gone with his friends to a casino in a state where gambling is legal. And the idiot tried to exchange the fake bills for chips. Obviously, they caught him immediately, called the police, and Justin was arrested for possession and use of counterfeit currency. When investigators went to my house asking where the money had come from, my parents said I had given it to them. And then the whole investigation turned on them too. The rest of the money they still had was confiscated as evidence. Now they weren't just bankrupt, but had legal problems on top. Connor told me my mom was having nervous breakdowns, that my dad wouldn't stop saying, "How could you do this to us?" That Justin would probably have a criminal record and maybe time in juvenile detention or something depending on how the whole legal case turned out. And I felt, honestly, nothing. Well, not nothing. I felt something, but it was more like satisfaction, you know what I mean? Like when justice is finally done, after years of injustice. My girlfriend asked me if I felt bad about what I did, and I told her no, not one bit. They used me as an emotional stepping stone for 8 years, ignored me, made me feel invisible and unnecessary in my own family, and then had the nerve to come ask me for money after 5 years of silence. Did they deserve real money from me? Not at all. Obviously, I blocked all the new numbers I tried to use to contact me. Changed my phone number just in case, told Connor I didn't want to know anything more about them unless it was absolutely necessary. My girlfriend and I went to a spa that weekend, like the full package with massages and everything, and it was perfect. While I was there in the jacuzzi drinking champagne, I was thinking about how my parents were probably dealing with lawyers and money problems, and I couldn't help but smile a little. The last update I heard from Connor was that Justin accepted a plea deal with the prosecutor to avoid prison time, but ended up with a record, has to do community service, and can't leave the state. My parents apparently tried to sue me, but they don't have any real proof that I gave them fake bills on purpose, and besides, they're so broke they can't afford a decent lawyer. The case basically got filed away for lack of evidence, because they can't prove I knew the money was fake, and I'm obviously never going to admit anything. I graduate in 2 months. I have a job waiting for me that pays really well. My girlfriend and I are thinking about moving in together to a bigger apartment, and my life is finally mine, completely mine, without the shadow of a toxic family ruining everything. Did I do something illegal? Probably. Do I regret it? Not for a second. After years of being the forgotten son, the son who didn't matter, I finally took control of the situation my way. And the best part of all is, they're never going to be able to prove anything, and I'm going to move forward with my life while they deal with the consequences of their own actions, or well, mine, technically, but they don't have to know that.